What's up, the squad? Back with another video. I seen the titles going out. Make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button for me, please. Y'all see it right here. It ain't looking good for Ilhan Omar. It ain't looking good for her sister or her brother, husband, or her husband. I'm telling y'all, multiple. Got a couple of them, don't? Couple husbands, right? Something like it. Says Ilhan Omar's ties his sister's Minneapolis health clinic, Somali health company. I'm telling y'all, one thing about it, it's still a lot. It's definitely a lot still going on, and I don't want none of this to be swept up under the rug. I know myself and other, content creators have obviously been putting out, a lot of things, just for that reason. You don't want stuff to be swept up under the rug. At the end of the day, you definitely want to shed light on it as much as possible because it tends to be swept up under the rug. As Ilhan Omar has allegedly been funneling millions of dollars to a health clinic run by her sister, according to the recent report. Omar is now being accused of directing taxpayer dollars to a Minneapolis health clinic that was run by her sister, Sarah Noor. Says Noor served as CEO of the People's Center Clinics and Services, a nonprofit health center from July 2014 to April 2018, the height of the Somali migrant fraud in the state. And it's always been going on. It's been going on for a while. Says during that time, the clinic racked up large amounts of public funding, which is now in the spotlight, as many are pointing to Omar's role in creating, pushing, signing off legislation influencing the allocations of the clinic. Now, let me tell y'all something. Regardless on however it is, Ilhan Omar is definitely, I would say, and like it's been saying, the godmother of it, the face of it, definitely when it comes down to it. Says funding for the PCCS includes about $33 million in grants from HSS since 2002, $2.2 million from Minnesota's 2017 state capital budget approved right after Omar started her term in Minnesota House of Representatives, $1 million in federal funding secured by Omar in 2022. An additional $1 million in federal funding secured by Omar in April 2024. Omar obviously is going to deny everything. Says, however, these new allegations can come as Omar is being investigated for her sudden jump in wealth, as detailed on her 2024 congressional disclosure, from showing a worth upwards of $30 million. That she's lying about, saying that she doesn't even have thousands in her account, which we all know the truth of it. She claims the wealth comes from her husband's winery, but the winery appears to be non-functional with no sales, no on-site operations, and multiple lawsuits filed for defrauding investigators. Omar has also been implicated in the massive $9 billion Somali migrant fraud in Minnesota. Details on Ilhan Omar's ties. I'm going to go through this. See how I picture. This is a picture of her sister right here. Said she was close with some of the convicted fraudsters. She introduced and pushed the bill to remove safeguards from certain welfare programs, including school nutrient, which is now how the fraud was able to take place. She hosted her 2018 congressional victory party at Safari restaurant owned by convicted fraudster Salim Ahmed, who stole over $20 billion by fabricating milk claims, then spent the money on personal luxuries. I'm gonna go here. This is the People's Center, Clinics and Services. So there's a big picture right here of everybody. And then you have here, says it's been an exciting few days celebrating investments of our communities. First, we got to celebrate People's Center clinic renovation made possible by over $2 million I got for them in my time. So it's literally right there, telling on itself. And then this is the individual, who had this Safari restaurant. Says in May 2020, Omar was featured in a promotional video at Safari praising the program's community impact, though she later condemned the fraud was reprehensible. A former campaign staffer, Gouad Hashi, said, I'm saying these names as I'm trying. Pleaded guilty, stealing $3.2 million. Another, y'all got the thing is, as I'm reading all this, as it's going, this is not something that it's like, okay, Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, this is something they didn't know about. Obviously, it's that, but it's also this is something that they're not a part of. You just can't say that with all this fraud that's going on, all these millions of dollars. There's no way you got Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, Mayor Fryer, you got Keith Ellis, you got all these individuals that's in Minnesota and they don't get a chunk. You mean to tell me that you literally are top of the board, wherever you at, when it comes to a restaurant, coming to the restaurant industry, you a CEO or so, anything like that. And you telling me the people that live, around you, the people that you over, and they doing this and doing that, and you ain't getting no peace? Bro, y'all can miss me with that. I'm telling y'all can miss regardless of whatever it is. I'm telling y'all, you not getting a peace? That's how I know it's lies. I'm telling y'all. It says Omar campaign received $7,400 in donations from 3 indicted fraudsters. Omar said she didn't know about the fraud, but she said she would have still pushed to remove safeguards from nutrient programs. Then later said the fraud took place because there weren't enough safeguards. I'm telling y'all, these individuals are literally doing it to themselves and they're telling on themselves. However you put it, I'm telling y'all. Check out what Dr. Oz says right here.
There's one behavioral health organization, Mr. Vice President, in Minnesota. They received $11.5 million in Medicaid payments, but the top biller submitted 450 days where they claimed they were working more than 24 hours a day. I mean, even in the White House, that's tough. It's hard to work more than 24 hours a day. How it didn't get picked up is shocking to us at CMS. There are other red flags in Minnesota, including hundreds of beneficiaries receiving treatment linked to one location, which was impossible physically to be true. We had 8 beneficiaries in one of these substance use disorder centers, 8 who were already dead, but the center was still billing us. Not only did they let the person pass, they kept billing for it. That's the level of average we're talking about. So CMS is done paying and chasing. We don't think jail sentences are the right way out. These criminals flee the country. Many are foreign nationals. Instead, we're launching the largest action against fraud that we've ever taken. The money's not going to ever leave the building again. We're going to start draining the swamp of the crooks that have inhabited it and are defrauding.
I'm telling y'all, and I don't see why not. It ends by saying he doesn't think jail sentences are the right way because many of these fraudsters are foreign nationals and they flee the country. So even if they always have that to where it's like, okay, we don't let them out of jail anyways, and it's truly crazy that they're even doing this in the first place. I'm telling y'all, got it right here. And again, this is that Minnesota fraud. Says 2 Pennsylvania men have pleaded guilty to traveling to Minneapolis to steal about $3.5 million from American taxpayers. So again, I keep telling individuals this is not just happening in Minnesota. It's definitely more going on when it comes to other states and what they're doing with funneling, and having and taking a lot of this money. Check it out right here.
Lawmakers now sounding the alarm on so-called fraud tourism. Have you heard of this? 2 men from Pennsylvania pleaded guilty to traveling to Minneapolis to steal more than $3 million from Minnesota taxpayers. Fox Business correspondent Darren Botello reports live on Capitol Hill. Darren.
Hi, good morning, Harris. So about $3.5 million in fraud was discovered. This is according to the Department of Justice. The 2 men you talked about that went from Pennsylvania over to Minnesota to commit this fraud, they pleaded guilty in court today of scamming Medicaid beneficiaries, get this, at homeless shelters and Section 8 housing. And what's most notable about this case, Harris, according to the DOJ, this represents the first charges involving the use of artificial intelligence to further a fraud scheme targeting healthcare programs in Minnesota, with the 2 fraudsters we talked about concealing the scheme by using AI, including ChatGPT, to create fake records when questioned by insurance companies. Exclusive to Fox this morning, Attorney General Pam Bondi releasing the statement saying criminal fraud not only robs taxpayers, it shatters trust in our institutions. Under President Trump's leadership, today's convictions are just the beginning. Our prosecutors will work tirelessly to unravel criminal fraud schemes and charge their perpetrators in Minnesota and across the country. All this news, Harris, is coming as 2 Senate committees hold high-profile hearings. That's happening this afternoon here on Capitol Hill about fraud and foreign influence in government programs.
We're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars It is an ungodly sum of money. It's money leaving the country in suitcases, literally stashed in suitcases, taken in airports, taken overseas. We're talking about a systemic problem here, particularly in these blue states, where the taxpayers is being robbed blind. You got to feel like if you work hard and pay taxes in this country, you're just getting ripped off left, right, and center.
And sorry to say, Harris, this is not just a Minnesota problem I should say. The Small Business Administration on Friday is suspending more than 100,000 California borrowers. This is over $9 billion in suspected pandemic-era fraud. Harris?
I'm telling you. Wow. And that's what people are not getting. You're literally sitting here and you're supporting individuals that truly do not care about you. That's what I'm seeing, all those protests, those riots and stuff like that happen in Minnesota, and just seeing, how people are acting, not even knowing that they don't care about you. This is it's all a plan of what they have. The things that they're doing. It's definitely sad. Even with the lives, and I don't, want to make it sound bad, but just the lives, that was lost, in the streets because of them with their plans and the violence that, they're inciting, hyping people up. That blame is on them. And yes, people have, people, with being an adult, being grown, you have those choices, and you do those things. But at the same time, actually thinking about it and realizing, what's going on, people got to actually realize and think sometimes. Look what they're doing. Look what they're trying to do. You constantly have, and it's right there in front of their faces. You have these Somalians that are truly getting all this money, talking about millions. And the crazy thing is, they're not doing much. They're not doing nothing really at all. With having assistance, this, that, and the other. And I'm talking about no individual Somalian was at none of these protests. None of these riots. None of that. They don't care. When I watched the video of Ilhan Omar when she was on the back of the truck and she had the loudspeaker and this, that, and other, I didn't see no Somalian. The most Somalian I did see was probably the police officers they have there. That's about it. I'm telling y'all. This goes back to the restaurant. It says a Somali restaurant in Minneapolis fraudulently claimed to serve 4,000 to 6,000 children daily, securing $12 million in federal funds, but FBI surveillance captured only about 40 visitors over the 6 weeks. 40 visitors. Pretty wild.
In December of 2021, the FBI installed a surveillance camera overlooking this building just off Lake Street in Minneapolis. At the time, it was Safari Restaurant, which overall took in $12 million in federal child meal payments through Feeding Our Future. Safari's former co-owner, Salim Saeed, is on trial alongside Amy Bach, the Feeding Our Future executive director. Safari claimed to feed 4,000 to 6,000 kids a day. Its invoices and meal counts shown to the jury alongside the video. An FBI agent testifying that an average of 40 people came and went during the 6 weeks it was surveilled. The FBI set up a total of 12 cameras at sites claiming to serve extraordinary numbers of meals. Another was at a deli in St. Paul, also registered by defendant Salim Saeed, which claimed 1,800 meals per day. The video, shown to the jury, showed an average of 23 people a day coming and going. The jury was shown dozens of invoices, meal counts, and emails seized from Feeding Our Future's headquarters in St. Anthony. Some showed links to websites that randomly generated names and ages to create rosters of children who were served meals. Many were signed or sent by Amy Bach, who's charged with wire fraud, along with bribery for the alleged kickbacks that she received. Her defense attorney tried to raise doubt when it cross-examined the FBI agent, that they didn't see the back entrance where it's possible meals left packed in trucks for delivery. He pushed back, insisting they'd still see congestion. To that volume, he said, I would say it would not make any sense.
That case became one of the biggest COVID-era frauds in America. And the kicker, Minnesota's own Department of Education had red flags. Massive spikes in reimbursement requests, impossible meal counts, and they still rubber stamped the paperwork. Now, this new audit proves what everyone with a brain has been saying for years. Incompetence starts at the top. When the governor's own office is sloppy with receipts, how can he possibly keep his agencies in line? Republican Senate Leader Mark Johnson said it perfectly. Quote, sloppy accountability at the top breeds waste and abuse everywhere else. And he's right about that. You cannot preach fiscal responsibility when you are overpaying employees, losing state property, and mismanaging vendor payments. And it's not just the feeding our future mess. We've also got the Autism Services fraud case, another multi-million-dollar scam in the same state, involving clinics billing for therapy that never happened. And to make it worse, some of those same providers were linked to the Feeding Our Future network. It's the same pattern: inflated invoices, non-existent oversight, and zero accountability.
Oh, you're not. The thing is, you're not ever gonna get accountability when it comes to these individuals. Never gonna get it. Y'all know what they do? They sit there and they throw people under the bus. Not literally YouTube. That's what they do. They tend to do that all the time, and they have somebody take the fall for it. And that's why so many people see when they say, oh, this Somalian got caught and they were doing this, and this Somalian got caught and they were doing that. Y'all know what they do? These individuals get caught. And the crazy thing is, I've seen it, and they get caught, and they had a jail time. And they tend a lot of times to get released. Now, some, I'm not gonna lie, it ends up, within that deportation and stuff like that. But me personally, I truly feel, and this is how I feel, I'm not trying to be mean, there is so much fraud going on. I think it's just more so a clean house. That's more so of when it comes to the Somalians. That's more so when it comes, and it's bad for, and I say this, it's truly bad for the actual Somalians, that has been in Minnesota for a while and just wants better. You know what I mean? At this point, I suggest y'all move. You know what I mean? Do something, because when I tell y'all that I know for a fact things are going to, and I'm going to show y'all why, things are going to get to that point, because it's too much going on. It's way too much going on, y'all. I'm telling y'all. Says, I'm sure they are. This is Steve Forbes, the chairman and editor-in-chief of Forbes. Says Ilhan Omar and her husband are running a money laundering operation. This is what Steve Forbes said. YouTube. Let's check it out.
Okay, that was far-left Congresswoman Ilhan Omar claiming the Justice Department and Congress probing her sudden skyrocketing wealth to $30 million in just 1 year, that they have a problem with her living the American dream. You heard her say the goddamn United States of America. We've got new questions on where she and her husband got all that money. Joining us now, Forbes Media Chair, Editor-in-Chief Steve Forbes. Steve, new information coming in, and Forbes magazine, your magazine, has reported this too, that the state of Delaware and Washington, D.C. canceled the registrations for Omar's husband's investment firm, Rose Lake, for not paying its back taxes. We saw it owed more than $400,000 to Delaware and nearly $1,800 to D.C. She's claiming it's worth $25 million from less than $1,000 a year before. How can his investment firm not afford to pay taxes? It's supposedly worth an estimated $75 million to $150 million. This is really weird stuff.
Well, weird is not the word for it. There's another word for it called crooked. And that's why we have to have an investigation into this. As you know, the Biden administration started examining her finances and that of her husband. And so surprise, surprise, that investigation went nowhere. But it's amazing how people can go into Congress and then become these entrepreneurial investing geniuses, where they come in, she had under $1,000 of net worth and her husband didn't have much, and suddenly now they're multimillionaires. Is there a money laundering operation here? And in terms of the firms themselves, they have a sketchy background. That winery in California that she and her husband own, where did that come from? Where's the wine there?
Exactly.
And nobody can seem to find it. So there's a lot of smelly stuff here, and that's why in the American Dream, her version of the American Dream is the Al Capone version of the American Dream, Tony Soprano version of the American Dream, and that is steal it from the taxpayers. And so there's a lot of stuff here, and so when somebody cloaks themselves in the American Dream, and so you have numbers like this, from minus 1,000 to 30, 40 million, you know something is not right.
Yeah, and she's also like, blaming people, bullying, doing race baiting, There's
I all
no
do.
evidence, public evidence. There's even a winery.
I think it's more so a Democrat thing. I don't know. What y'all
Valued
think?
at $5 million. His investment firm is real. Well, it's supposedly real. Its D.C. headquarters appear to share office space at a WeWork, Steve. There's no track record of his firm managing money, doing M&A deals. No clients we see, investment deals, or any work it's done. They say they do work in 80 nations operating in. There's no SEC registrations for them as investment advisors. What is going on here? This increasingly looks sketchy, both the winery and his investment firm.
Yeah, the winery may not exist, and the firm may be just really a name only, as you say, a WeWork office. Big deal. So that's why the investigation needs to be done. And suddenly all that $30 million, I think you're going to find, I'll make a speculation and prediction, that $30 million came from sources that are illegal, period.
Thank you so much, Steve Forbes, helping us to break it down. We're going to stay on the story. Okay, that was
When I tell y'all that, and I put out a picture. Mad I didn't put the picture out. Y'all watched my video yesterday. Y'all see the picture that I put, in the question that I asked, when it comes down to Ilhan Omar even being in Congress. Zohran Mamdani even being a mayor. I'm telling y'all. Says CNN panel clashes over spending. And I've even mentioned this before. And I'm glad you have an individual like Scott Jennings that will say and speak real. Phillips says $11 billion on war could fund hunger and health programs at home. Jennings pushes back, citing billions lost to Somali fraud in Minnesota. When I tell y'all, so this is my thing. Before I play this video, I want to make this make sense to y'all. You mean to tell me that you have people that's on the CNN panel? Not only that, but you have individuals that actually support Somali fraud, but y'all not supporting the fact that we've been dealing they say 47 years? What Iran? Like I'm truly confused. Like I'm truly confused. And that's where you draw the line. Like, bro, y'all gotta wake up, realize what's going on. So you spending money, and it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things with Iran. But then you got people stealing your money, your taxes you paying. Make that make sense. Honestly, make it make sense.
That is Donald Trump. That's what some people voted for because they wanted him to spend money here instead of $11 billion dropping bombs elsewhere in the world.
I mean, I'm sorry, Abby, but we've spent more money in this country on Somali fraud in Minnesota than we've spent on this war so far. You keep throwing around $11 billion.
Oh
my God.
That's not true.
$19 billion.
It's not $19 billion.
Netanyahu has been trying to get America to go to war with Iran
for
you seem to be worried about this $11 billion, but not TBD billions in Minnesota.
It's not $19 billion. But $11 billion is a lot of money, and it's a lot of money that could have saved millions of children around the world. It could fund hunger programs here in the United States. It could fund healthcare. I mean, it could do a lot of things.
$11 billion. What is the percentage of our national budget?
$11
billion could fund the entire CDC budget. That's $9.6 billion. And we spent that in 6 days in the Iran war. And we are now 12 days in, so we're probably $22 billion, which we'll find out a few days later. $22 billion in a 12-day war for something that the American people didn't ask for. Donald Trump is 79 years old. He'll be 80 this year. He doesn't have to pay for this. He doesn't have to live with the consequences of this. His son Barron is 19. His son Barron won't be fighting this war. But you know what? Millions of Americans who are at that age range will be suffering because of Donald Trump's change.
He won't be fighting this war. He does realize that he has 2 other sons. J.D. Vance. It's a number of individuals that I think make smart decisions. Like I don't even know. Like it's so you have so many excuses in a book. It comes a time where you actually have to be real with yourself and be like, you know what? That was dumb for me to say. Like, sometimes you have to think about it. Even if you don't say it out loud, just think about, oh, yeah, that was dumb for me to say. I probably shouldn't have said that. That's out. I shouldn't have said that. Come on, bro. Like, I don't understand it. I truly do not understand it. Let me show y'all something. It says Department of Homeland Security under President Donald Trump has officially ended temporary protected status, TPS, for Somalis in the United States. Thousands must leave by March 17th, which is technically yesterday, or they'll be deported. This is what it says. Get out! You're not supposed to be here. Get out! I'm telling y'all. I'm not going to play the volume of this video because I don't know what these individuals are saying. Obviously, they're mad, but guess what? Looks like can't stay here. Says it's official. President Trump just signed it. Vice President J.D. Vance now has total authority over the freshly launched anti-fraud task force to hunt down fraud in America. Let me tell y'all something. This is big. Y'all want to tell you why it is? Pause. I'm going to tell you why. The reason is you actually have a vice president that's actually doing something. You don't have a Kamala. Oh. You actually got a vice president that is actually doing something. Not only this, there's been plenty of things. Being involved, I should say. Just being involved. Check it out right here.
You two guys are the right guys. If you guys can't do it, you got a problem. There's nobody else who'll be able to do it. Huh? Yes, sir. So I'll sign, and then we'll take some nice questions from our wonderful media. Okay. Good one. There you go. They're very important. That's a big deal. We've been working on this very long. Really?
Yes,
see,
sir.
Right?
I ain't gonna lie. I need one of them coins, though. Yeah, I need one of those coins right there. Definitely. A pen or something. You get something, President. You know what I'm saying? Something. But I'm telling y'all, one thing about it is that President Trump, I don't care what nobody say, is a president that's going to get stuff done. You don't have nobody that's laid back on the beach. Somebody that's just in an office, you know, cooling, not doing nothing. You actually got somebody that's moving around. I'm telling you, doing a lot. Doing a lot. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and definitely appreciate y'all. Much love, everybody. Stay tuned for the next video dropping tonight. Catch y'all next one.